Absolutely.
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Could the clerk please call the roll?
Council, excuse me, Councilmember Middleton,
Present.
Councilmember Nelson,
Present.
Councilmember Schaefer,
Present.
Vice Mayor Lopez Taft,
Here.
Mayor Karpinski Costa.
Present.
Thank you.
Next item, please.
Video statement. This meeting of the Citrus Heights City Council is live and recorded with closed captioning. It is cablecast on Metro Cable Channel 14, the Local Government Affairs channel on Comcast, and DirecTV Uverse cable systems. It is also live streamed at citrusheights.net. This meeting replays Monday, February 17th at 9 a.m. on Metro Cable Channel 14. Once posted, the recording of this meeting can be viewed on the city's YouTube channel.
Next item, please.
Approval of agenda.
Move approval.
Second.
Moved by Middleton, seconded by Vice Mayor Lopez Taft. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes. Next item, please.
Proclamations. We have one proclamation. Proclamation of the City of Citrus Heights recognizing February as Black History Month.
We have no one to receive our proclamation, but I will read the proclamation because we did prepare it, and we'll probably send it to appropriate person. Tonight, please join me and my fellow council members as we recognize and celebrate Black History Month, a time to honor the incredible contributions, achievements, and resilience of Black Americans throughout history and in our city today. Black history is American history. It's history of triumph over adversity, of leadership and innovation, of courage and perseverance. From civil rights icons like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Rosa Parks to the countless unsung heroes who have shaped our communities, Black Americans have played a vital role in building a more just, equitable, and vibrant society. I encourage everyone to take part in local events, support Black-owned businesses, and engage in meaningful conversations that move us forward together. I'd now like to read the city's proclamation in honor of Black History Month. Whereas much of the city of Citrus Heights' strength and distinction can be attributed to the diversity of cultures and traditions that are celebrated by our community, and whereas Black History Month is an annual observance that recognizes and honors the significant contributions and enduring legacy of African Americans throughout the history of the United States, and whereas this year, the theme of Black History Month is African Americans and labor. This year's theme focuses on the diverse and significant ways in which labor, from agricultural and industrial work to modern professional contributions, have played a vital role in shaping history, culture, and progress. And whereas African Americans have made significant and enduring contributions to our community by highlighting the impact of work, both past and present, and shaping the identity, culture, and economic status of our communities. And whereas as a result of their determination, hard work, and perseverance, African Americans have earned exceptional success in all aspects of society, and their impact extends globally, including business, education, politics, science, and the arts. And whereas all Americans are encouraged to reflect on past challenges and triumphs of African Americans and look ahead to improve society so that we may live up to the ideals of freedom, equality, and justice. Now therefore be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Citrus Heights does hereby proclaim the month of February 2025 as Black History Month and invite everyone to observe this month in celebration of diversity in our community and highlight the importance of sharing our culture, customs, and traditions with those around us. Thank you. does say begin clapping, so I did that. I'd now like to ask any council members if they have any comments. Any comments? Comments?
No comment.
Alfred, okay. There it is. Next item, please.
Public comment. Normally, speakers are limited to 5 minutes each. The mayor has the discretion to reduce the allotted time. We have a countdown display that will flash red at the end of the allotted time. Also consistent with the Brown Act, the council is prohibited from engaging in a discussion or taking action on any item not appearing on the agenda.
Thank you very much. I have 7 speaker sheets. We'll stick with 5 minutes for tonight, but just a warning that I found out that all the cities do 3. So maybe next meeting, we might move to 3 minutes. So if you are preparing speeches, shorten them. But tonight, we'll stick with 5. Please, at 5 minutes, if you get the buzzer, please wrap it up. My first speaker is David Shelton.
Today is actually Abraham Lincoln's birthday also.
It is.
Mayor, City Council members, my name is David B. Shelton. This will probably be an emotionally packed 5 minutes for me. If I stop, it's to take 2 deep breaths to refocus my emotions. I'm okay. I have a dream. I have a dream. I have a dream. But I'm not the first person to say that. Those words were used by a very distinguished individual, which has been commented on earlier. I want the world as I know it to be a better place because I was here. Now, voting should be viewed in the same view as firing your boss where you work. You can't, but voting is firing those who make laws and pass laws you don't agree with. Again, voting should be viewed in the same view as firing your boss where you work. If you can't, then voting by firing those who make laws and pass laws that you don't agree with. My returning for 5-minute sessions is how I vote for Citrus Heights. By my repetition at each council meeting, it works. Next, the mayor is at City Hall every Monday from 9 a.m. to noon, and we talk to each other. I've enjoyed all of our visits, all of them. I look forward to meeting the next mayor, Mayor Kelsey Nelson. I just hope she knows something about Robert's Rules of Order. I've determined that council does have that book on parliamentarian rules. Some of your people are very confident in parliamentarian rules and use them adroitly. I'm a parliamentarian also in my side business. I volunteer there too. I will be 81 in June, and I am rewarded early by problem-oriented policing, being replaced by impact policing. In other words, a cop on the beat. They've been coming to neighborhood meetings. They came to Neighborhood 5. They came again to explain what's coming with impact officers. You can see that on old TV shows if you look what a beat officer is, if you're not blessed by the age that I have. I was blessed to see that work for Citrus Heights from 2010 to 2015 as a good 5-year time span. Our pop officer in our area 5 is now the present chief of police of Citrus Heights, so it works. People need to pay attention to voting with their feet today. The prior mayor is in Kentucky. The prior mayor and Sacramento County board member Sue Frost is in Arkansas. Why? California's cost of living is too high. Money is needed to provide free medical care and food and education to millions of Biden refugees, not illegal aliens. Our governor is all in for this, but I don't want my money spent that way. Democrats enjoy having their money spent that way, since they don't fire their political bosses and get a boss that will listen and not build a high-speed train from nowhere to nowhere in the valley. The federal funds, however, will soon disappear. Thank you for granting me time to talk. My February 26th 5 minutes will be about the 2024 year, my winners and my losers as I discussed my future for Citrus Heights is how I see it. I will be back at 6 p.m., rain or shine, February the 26th. Come see the mayor between now and then. Tell her what you want to fire and who you want to keep, what you enjoy and what you don't enjoy. But if you don't speak up, you don't vote, don't complain about what happens afterward. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Next speaker is Diane Bowerman. Did I say it right? Did I say your name right?
No, but it's close enough. It's hard. It's
How is it?
Borman.
Borman?
Pretend the E's not there.
Oh, okay.
It's Dutch.
Thank you. Go for it.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Diane Borman, and I've been a resident of Citrus Heights for almost 40 years. I'm here tonight to talk about two widely discussed issues in several local groups on social media platforms: what to do about Sunrise Mall and the condition of our streets. I remember well the 12-year legal battle. The idea was that residents would be better served by incorporating as a city than continuing with county services. Revenue from a vibrant Sunrise Mall was a major sticking point. The case was eventually settled, and the cost for cityhood was a 25-year payment plan that cost $140 million, not including the legal fees. After 25 years, we will finally be receiving property tax revenues. I want to ensure that these new monies are spent on needs, not wants. Those are your words, Mayor. 27 years later, Sunrise Mall doesn't provide enough revenue for needs or wants, and it's anything but vibrant. Instead, it's a crumbling mess, and so are our streets. I've researched the city website for anything relating to these issues and found documents on the Sunrise Tomorrow Plan, the Pavement Restoration Plan, city budget, capital improvement projects, and the commission reports, Planning Commission. I have some questions. Was there a study done on projected revenue that we would gain from the Sunrise Tomorrow Plan? Was there a formal signed agreement between all owners of the mall and city to move forward with the Sunrise Mall Tomorrow Plan before the council approved it in November of '21? The Sunrise Tomorrow Plan was initiated by the Planning Commission in September of 2019, passed by the council in '21, and an RFP was issued in August of '22. Were there any responses to that RFP? Nothing I could find on the city website. It's been 5 years since the original discussion began, and here we are with a concept, but no plan. This city simply cannot afford another lengthy legal battle over the same piece of property. What actions is this council prepared to take to move this project forward that doesn't take 20 years to complete? Budget stuff. The city used money from ARPA, one-time funds, to fill positions within the city police department. What is the city going to do about funding those positions once those ARPA funds are gone? One-time money. According to the budget, 34% of the city revenue is in sales tax. In order to maintain financial health, what other avenues are being considered for future revenue? Finally, the CIP shows a total of $35.1 million allocated over a 5-year period for the PRP. pavement restoration plan. We're currently in year 2 of that 5-year plan. The budget report estimates that the total cost for resurfacing all of our streets is $90 million, with a $13 million needed annually to maintain those roads. Residential streets are being ignored for major arteries because of a lack of funds. As taxpayers, we deserve safe streets in our neighborhoods too. What is being done to address this shortfall now, as well as future funds needed for our maintenance of those streets? The decisions this council makes on these issues will affect the future financial health of this city, as well as the quality of life of everybody living here. On a personal note, Mayor, I would like to say simply, please do better. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Next is Kathy Morris.
Madam Mayor, whoops, I have to move that, yeah. Mayor, council members, thank you. I am Kathy Morris. I am, at the moment, I am the Vice President of REACH. And I'm from District 7, 8, and 9, Chasen, but I am with REACH. And as that, we had a couple of issues we had to take care of. One of them, we were informed that a city council member cannot be president of a neighborhood area. So, since our Area 3 council member was elected, Kelsey couldn't be president, so now she's on the city council. So the Area 3 did have an election and elected a new president. I would like to introduce you to the new president of Area 3, Glenda Green. And just a couple of words.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to say hello quickly. We had the first meeting last night for our area. That was the first one I chaired as president, and I was really excited to see all of the community engagement that was experienced at that meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Next is Melissa Hayden.
Good evening, council and fellow community members. I'd like to start off by saying I'd never come to these city council meetings unless there was a cause I truly believed in and felt needed attention in order to better our community. Firstly, Mayor Contra Costa, Pinsky Costa, excuse me. I'd like to address your comment at the last meeting that you received the emails. I am unaware of any emails you may have received about me or any of the efforts that I have made in this community, and you have not been transparent enough with that information. Yelling at me in the last meeting, saying that you have emails. What emails? I've never sent any of you a single email once. So unless you want to make that transparent to our community, then I probably wouldn't be yelling at a community member regarding it. Next, my time is very precious to me. As a rescuer, I always want to be ready. Coming to these meetings only takes away from that and could ultimately hinder an animal who may need my help. Helping animals has always been a passion of mine, and in the end, we need to put aside our petty differences for the greater good of our community animals. So when I come here, it's because there is a true issue that I believe needs to be addressed. I have helped this community in June with over 40 TNR, as well as many other rescues independently. Twice during that time, I did that from the bed of an ER room. I have disabilities that I deal with and I do not discuss. This is why my time is precious, and what I do is out of pure heart and soul, and I'm not coming here without a real true reason that's true to my heart. Next. Oh, no. To say in your words, you're not putting up with my bullshit, is the most uncompassionate, unprofessional, and demeaning thing you can say to any community member that is doing the best they can to make the city a better place. If you truly want to help our community this next year as you are seated as mayor, I truly hope your actions will speak louder than your words. If it is too, as you said in the paper, frustrating, you may want to reconsider your position. I do appreciate everybody's time in hearing me out and listening to what I have to say. I hope that it can be taken into heart. Thank you.
Next speaker is Anna Rulon.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. I think this might be Quinn's first council meeting. I'm not sure, but pretty exciting. Happy Black History Month and happy birthday. Was it Abraham Lincoln? Is today his birthday? All right, awesome. I'm here just to let you guys know about an event that we have coming up and let the community know and invite the community. So on February 21st, Friday, from 9 a.m. to noon, we will be co-hosting a community cleanup at the Stock Ranch Nature Preserve. We're doing this in partnership with the River City Waterway Alliance. We will have free breakfast, free lunch. We're bringing all of the supplies that people need if anybody wants to come. There is a Facebook event floating around out there, so if you search River City Waterway Alliance, you can find this event on Facebook with more details. You don't necessarily have to RSVP, but if anybody wants to get some more details from me, they can text me at 916-475-4182, or they can shoot me an email at arulon, R-U-L-O-N, @republicservices.com, and I can give them some more information. The only thing we're currently trying to work through is people under the age of 18 have to have a parent or guardian with them. I'm trying to work through that right now so that I can get a signed permission slip so that we can get students and youth there without their parents. But anyway, I just wanted to invite everyone to that, and we're really excited, so let me know if anyone has any questions.
Do you need more volunteers, or do you have enough?
I mean, we could always use more volunteers.
Over 18, they can come without permission slips, correct?
For sure, yes. I mean, even if we only have 4 people there, we're gonna pick up as much garbage as we can in 3 hours. But, I mean, if we get 50 people, we'll make a bigger impact.
And so where are you congregating for getting to start?
That's a great question. So if you do find the Facebook event through the River City Waterway Alliance, they show on there like the corner where we're meeting. I don't want to say anyone's residential address, but it's in a neighborhood, and if you put into Google Maps a residential address near that neighborhood, you can get to the corner where we'll be congregating. Or just shoot me an email or a text, and I can give more info.
Councilmember Shaver has a question.
Yes, I have a question. Can I wear my flip-flops, my shorts, and short sleeve shirts, or?
That's a wonderful question. I would not recommend
for an
that.
attire?
I would recommend closed-toed shoes, pants, and be okay with your shoes and your pants getting wet and dirty. Be prepared for all different types of weather. But yeah, we're gonna get dirty, and it's gonna probably be a little bit cold.
Great.
Great question.
Thank you.
Do you have a question?
Yeah. Is it listed on our volunteer hub as well?
Ooh, it is not. Who should I reach out to get it listed on that?
I think you can do it independently.
Okay.
On the volunteer hub.
Great, I'll do that.
Anybody else have questions? Thank you, Ann,
All right.
for coming and sharing.
Thank you.
Next is Karen Eastman?
Berman.
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 Berman. Karen.
Good evening, City Council members and fellow citizens. Just a warning, I will be repeating words issued by our mayor. So if you have children that are offended, I would suggest plug their ears. I'm here to address the behavior and comments made by our current mayor at the last City Council meeting. Mayor, your comment was appalling. A citizen who is an active animal welfare advocate in our community came to you asking for help and collaboration, and your response was to be dismissive, disrespectful, and to say that you're tired of her, and I quote, bullshit. What are your constituents supposed to think? How many other derogatory comments have you made about the people who have taken time out of their lives to address this council? Please state for the record exactly what she said that was, and again, I use your own words, bullshit. As a veterinarian, you should be ashamed of yourself for actively promoting yourself as someone who cares for animals, when it's become abundantly clear that is, in fact, untrue. Furthermore, your Sentinel apology was cowardly, knowing that only a limited number of people would be able to ever see it. You tried throwing the rest of the whole city council under the bus with you. I'm asking other members of the council to censure you for your inappropriate and unprofessional conduct and the comment made about a resident of our city. You may be tired of hearing from the same people on the same subject, but it's your duty to address the issues that matter to the citizens you were elected to represent. Do your job, and you won't see us at meetings complaining, but rather you'll see us reporting good news on the progress of this very important project that was supported by a large number of people in our community. I'm here. Excuse me, Madam Mayor, would you like to look at me?
I'm listening.
That's okay, I'm talking to you. When Citrus Heights was first incorporated, I met you for the very first time at a meeting regarding animal services. I told you at that time I voted for you because you were a veterinarian. And I thought that at that time you actually cared about animals and their welfare. Luckily, I no longer live in your voting district because I sure as hell won't be voting for you again. And I will do my darndest to make sure that you are never allowed to sit up there cursing out your constituents again. Thank you, members of the City Council, for your time.
Last speaker is Alfred Sanchez.
Take me like half an hour just to get up here.
Take your time, Alfred.
You know, I hate this because I can't see Portia when I come up here behind the thing. Is this thing on? Yes, it's on. Okay. First, Black History Month. My Black History Month hero is Harriet Tubman, for what that's worth. I mean, she's. Oh. You want me to yell?
Oh, yeah, it's better.
Is it on? Oh. Usually I don't need a microphone, but first and foremost, my Black History Month hero is Harriet Tubman. I mean, she's just an awesome person. And secondly, I have something a little different to say tonight. It's very near and dear to my heart. So I practiced this at home. So I have 11 comments, and I'll make them quickly because I know we're on time limit here. So here we go. First of all, I don't need a lot of money. I don't need a big fine car. I've got everything a man could ever want. I've got more than I can ask for. Well, I don't have to run around. I don't have to stay out all night because I got me a sweet, loving woman, and she knows how to treat me right. My baby, she's all right. Well, my baby, she's clean out of sight. Number 11, don't you know that she's some kind of wonderful? Anyways, I just wanted to say this. I'm a little bit embarrassed now, I'm turning red. But happy Valentine's Day to you, and happy Valentine's Day to you. And I'm going outside now.
That was great. Thanks, Alfred. That's all the speaker sheets I have. If there's any more, now's the time. Seeing none, next item, please.
Comments comments by council members, and regional board update.
I will start with Councilmember Middleton.
Thank you, Mayor. It's been a long time since we've had a council meeting, so I have to go all the way back to January. So on the 23rd, I attended a library board meeting on behalf of Councilmember Lopez Taft, and that was my first one, and it was very interesting. As an avid reader, I want to encourage folks to remember our public libraries and make great use of them. There's a lot of great things that you can find. I have found out again that you can actually go and, rent a KitchenAid mixer. You can check one out for a week or two. So, take a look at what's going on in our local libraries. On the 29th, I had my California Housing Partnership Board meeting, and there we talked at the state level about how to expedite and streamline building more housing in our state and what we can do locally. And if you don't know that from the state of California, Citrus Heights has gotten the pro-housing designation, which means that we have very great housing policy twice from the California Housing and Community Development Department. We are doing a great job building homes here in Citrus Heights. On the 31st, I went with my colleagues to the Sacramento Metro Chamber annual dinner, and we had a blast learning about all of the work that other business folks are doing right here in our community to keep Sacramento running. On February, we're finally in February, February 7th, I went to the firefighters crab feed because, we got to support our firefighters. A lot of that funding goes towards the Burn Institute and to help make sure that folks who are victims of fires in their homes and they're destroyed, they come out, they help those families. On the 6th, I was able to represent the city of Citrus Heights at Fill the Boot. We did an amazing job, as per usual. Folks came out, it was great, it was raining, so we had to send her a tent and, kind of shout at each other, and it was very cold. I was very glad to go home that day. On the 10th, I did our Cal Cities local meeting, which we talked about our annual advocacy priorities. And they include protecting local government revenue, which is just key. We understand that a lot of times at the state level, our legislators don't understand that those dollars that we get here locally, we need to have control over them to be able to do the things like some of our speakers said about paving roads and making sure that we're able to reinvest. Also strengthening our climate change and modernizing critical infrastructure. So that was a lot.
You've been busy.
On a personal note, my oldest boy, he's 14, he's going to district championship for Sylvan Wrestling. Every one of their wrestlers ended up in a weight class, and hopefully tomorrow we'll bring home the championship.
Wow.
We wish you the best of luck.
And I want to thank you for doing the Fill the Boot. It rains every year for that event. It seems like every year we went, you and I would stand in the rain, yeah. So thanks for going, I didn't get there. Councilmember Nelson, what you been up to?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The 2 days following our last council meeting, I finished up my new council member training put on by the League of Cities downtown. That was an intensive conference, and I definitely learned a lot, met a lot of our new local leaders in our region, so that was very exciting. And then on the 30th of January, I attended the Chamber of Commerce ribbon cutting for our Citrus Heights Chamber at their new location. So that was great to celebrate them and all their hard work that they do over there. They are now located at Fair Oaks and Greenback. And then the next day, the 31st, I attended the Sacramento Chamber dinner as Councilmember Middleton described, and that was a great time as well, celebrating business owners who are making an impact in our region. Then I want to give a shout out on a personal note to my youngest brother and my sister-in-law, both of which graduated from San Juan schools. They just had their very first baby, so I took a trip to see them, and it went by way too fast, but it was great to meet my newest nephew, Jack Nelson. And then last night, I attended the chant meeting here at City Hall. Great attendance. We had representatives from Ethan Conrad's team to discuss their amendment to the specific plan proposal for the Sunrise Mall. And Then I just wanted to say, I appreciate everyone's time, everyone that comes out to these meetings and watches them from home. It really is so important to the vibrancy of our community, so thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Councilmember Schaefer.
Well, I've got a long list of stuff here, so I'm gonna try to shorten it up a little bit. Okay, so, I'm just gonna go through this. So 24th had a SAC-RT. It was more of an informal meeting, it was a lunch, just information. Then on that was on the 24th, 27th, I sat in for Monday morning with the mayor, nobody came. So that made it a short day for me. Then on the 27th, I had the regular SAC-RT board meeting. And there are some concerns with regard to funding for SAC-RT at this point. Then on the 30th, I attended the Chamber Open House, Greenback and Fair Oaks. Really, really well attended. What a nice office. When I talked to Sherry, she said it was 750 square feet. Sure felt bigger than that, but we packed a lot of people into that 750 square feet. So great to see them, and that's sort of a new rebirth of the Chamber of Commerce. And the Chamber of Commerce, she's doing an amazing job and really, really promoting the Chamber and Chamber membership. Then on the 31st, with the rest of my colleagues here, I went to the Metro Chamber Awards Gala, which was really, like I said, really interesting. Good to see. This is, when you sit on some of these boards, some of these regional boards, it's really important to build relationships with these folks. It's, I can go in there, I'm one vote, but if I can have a relationship with someone, I can get them to listen to me, maybe I'll have some influence on their vote as well. So it's really important to sort of develop the relationships with other people and from other cities, Roseville, Sacramento, the whole gambit of the area. So, and then on the 3rd, I had a meeting with, another informal meeting with regard to funding with SACOG. And then on the 3rd, I attended, now this is kind of a little more of a personal note, but we're having it here at the Chamber, or at the Community Center, is the SVMA High School Manufacturing Challenge. Councilmember Lopez Taft attended last year, and it's really turning into quite a great success. So I did that at the Career Compass Summit. This is districts from all over the region. We met right here on Arden Way at the Hilton Inn. And it was a really, like, it's great attended. I did meet with Brett Wolf over there with San Juan Unified, really hoping they're able to bring some charm to the high school challenge. And then on the 10th, I had another RT board meeting. That meeting lasted 3 hours and 30 minutes. That's a long, long, long meeting. Started at 4, we got done after 7:30. So very, like I said, a little bit contentious there. And then, so then I had yesterday, on the 10th, I had the SACOG Policy and Innovations Committee meeting, and this is, they were covering, so we had presentations by our representation, our lobbyists essentially, that are in Washington, D.C. There's lots of people that look at things negatively. I think the positive thing that comes out of this is the current administration, their primary focus is prior administrations were focused on public transit and light rail and all the, like I said, public transit. The new administration is all about infrastructure, roads, and road repairs. So while I see, lots of people say, well, that's less funding for transit, I don't think transit funding is going away because that's formulaic, meaning that, hey, you get this amount. I'm talking about an additional 15% of the federal funding that we get from the Federal Transportation Agency is actually going to go for, really earmarked for road repairs and road construction. So I think that's a really positive thing you can take away from that. So, and finally, just want to wish my wife, today she shares her birthday with Abraham Lincoln, and today is her birthday. So, unfortunately, I'm here, not with her, but I want to wish her a very happy birthday.
You can make it up Friday, Valentine's Day.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mayor.
And Vice Mayor Lopez Taff.
All right, thank you. I did want to ask Councilmember Schaefer, what is the theme for SVMA's challenge this year? Because last year it was tic-tac-toe.
It is still tic-tac-toe.
Okay,
Lots of variations on tic-tac-toe. You can innovate, like it doesn't matter whether you make it out of wood, whether you can make it electronically. These kids got really creative on an old idea of the simple thing of tic-tac-toe. One of the winners was a travel game where the pieces actually don't move. There was just a little window with it was sandwiched, some pieces that were sandwiched between a couple of pieces of wood, and you just rotate the little dial in there to indicate whether it's an X or an O. So really, really interesting. We have, I forget the total number of, and it changes all the time, so I don't usually commit it to memory. We're going to have a great turnout this time. It's probably, I think we had 21 students actually present last year. I think we're on par with at least 50 right now, so it should be and again, the public is welcome to attend. If you wanted to come in and see what we're doing.
What's the date again?
April 26th, it's a Saturday, and it's, you know what, the time is not on this flyer, though.
I am an absolute fan.
Yeah,
And,
it really is amazing.
yeah, and it was pouring buckets, and these students came out with their presentations, their demonstrations, and were just a delight to witness their creativity on display, and I really always enjoy that. So if I were to make a suggestion, it would be two things. One, a take on pinball machines,
Okay?
and two, I did have it in mind, but now it flew out of my head, so, it's to be forthcoming in a future
Okay, all
meeting.
right. So pinball machine. I like it.
So my updates, also had a busy few weeks in between meetings. I started off with and I'm not going to steal your thunder on this one, but we hosted here at City Hall a business pitch showcase with youth entrepreneurs, and we had 10 business pitches that were absolutely off the charts amazing, and did have some invited guest stars in the house that I'll let them give their experience. I also attended no less than three crab feeds, 1 week after another. I went to the Seroptimus Kiwanis crab feed on the 25th. I attended the Casa crab feed the following week, and then recently attended the Rotary crab feed. All wonderful, and the reason why I go to these, not only because I love crab, I'm native San Franciscan, but because I love the causes. I love the causes. I love to be able to participate in a way that's fun to participate. There's no greater joy for me to eat and give. So I really appreciated that. I did attend with Councilmember Schaefer the SAC-RT board meeting as the alternate. It was really great to get the lay of the land and understand the issues that are happening with SAC-RT. So that was a wonderful introduction. Thank you, Councilmember Schaefer. I had the pleasure of being invited to be one of the moderators for the Sac County Commission on Women and Girls event for women, newly elected women in the region and got to get to know a few very interesting panelists. And it was covered by ABC 13, and they did a tiny spot on the 10 o'clock news. And that was the evening that they had the tragedy, the helicopter airplane tragedy in Washington, DC. And so that was the bulk of the news that took away a little bit from the coverage, rightfully so, but we had an amazing opportunity to meet with one another, gather and network. And as one of our public speakers said today, Mr. Shelton, I think the most important thing is voting and understanding your vote. And so we got to celebrate that with our women and girls in the region. I also attended the Citrus Heights Chamber Open House. I'm a proud board member of the chamber, so we've been anticipating this move for quite a few many months, and so wonderful to see plans in reality. And our new executive director, Sherry Merrick, is doing a stand-up, amazing job, really creating community amongst the business owners here in the city. She's creating excitement again to be part of a business community in Citrus Heights, and that's what we need. Finally, last night, many of us have early mornings and late evenings, and last night, as a personal interest of mine, I attend the San Juan Unified School District board meetings, and I like to tease those who know me, who attend the meeting, that I always show up when you're talking money and plans. And so last night, they had a mid-year budget conversation as well as a mid-year LCAP, Local Control Accountability Plan review. And for me, that's super important. While my kids went through all of the public school system, I'm always curious, and they say too, if you remain active within the school system, even when your kids are long graduated through the system, your perspective is super important. Those meetings are open, just like ours here, function under the very similar rules. And if you ever have any question about what's going on in your local school, I know San Juan Unified is very interested in hearing your perspective. In fact, they send surveys to as many residents as they can find when they want to know and need your opinion. So please tune in and look at those agendas, because that is how you can lend your voice to the process. On another note, a couple personal notes here. With my relationship with the SAC Library, as Councilmember Middleton mentioned, March 3rd is Read Across America Day. Take some time and read a book, finish a book, or start a book. I think it's super important that we read words and hold books again. There is something that is a kinesthetic brain function where when you hold a book, magic can happen. When I was in 4th grade, I discovered the love of reading because my mind can go anywhere. And I encourage young and old alike to do the same. And finally, Restaurant of the Week. My husband and I and our family used to go to a different restaurant in Citrus Heights every week, and this week was no different. And I want to say, and this is not a paid advertisement, I guarantee you, that I had an extremely good time attending or going to the Yummy Buffet and Grill right here in front of Sam's. Very wonderful spot, lots of variety, excellent, clean place. And I would encourage everyone who would like to try a new spot in town, it's open and ready for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, it's been a while since our last meeting. As Mary Jane mentioned, I was one of her guests, what do you call them? Judges at the Junior Achievement. Who's the other organization that was there?
NABO, National Association for Women Business Owners.
And National Association of Women Business Owners. These kids, these were groups of kids that proposed their projects. And the winner, there was 1, 2, and 3, and the winner got $500 towards their project, to fund their project. And the winners was a group of kids from St. Francis, I think they were. St. Francis, and they provided a care kit for people in hospitals, and it was just the most incredible thing. There was like a crossword book or something, and a card, a greeting card that made you cheery, and a pillow that you could hug. And it was just and the other projects, some of them were just terrific. These kids are coming up. I was just so amazed, and thank you for having me. It was amazing the ideas that kids come up with for science. Some were far beyond what we did when I was in school. And then the next day, I left for 4 days to go to a mosquito conference. And this is with my mosquito board assignment. And once a year, it's the winter time, we don't worry too much about mosquitoes. We kind of clean all our equipment. All of our staff does their vacations because they can't take vacations in the summer. And then we also do training. The staff does their training requirements that gets them certified. But the conference, interestingly, is we're kind of going away from West Nile virus and more into the dengue and the chikungunya and those mosquitoes that I mentioned last year that are day biters. And so if you get bitten in the daytime, those are the mosquitoes that are carrying these new diseases. So the diseases didn't used to be in the United States. They were travelers' diseases that they got them and came here after they got them abroad. But now they're coming into the United States. So we're getting the mosquitoes, and so little by little, we'll work on it in the summer. I'll bring you up to date when we get to go in on trapping those. But for now, we just have the winter mosquitoes. They're annoying. If you are annoyed by them, call the district, and then we'll be doing our spring updates. And then I had a meeting, because I'm the alternate on LAFCO, I had a meeting with the executive director. He kind of gave me the rundown of how LAFCO works and what they do. And then I did attend the LAFCO meeting because the GALT guy, who is the primary guy, hadn't been assigned yet. So I got to go to a LAFCO meeting, which to me is very exciting because it's the time you sit at the Board of Supervisors and have room, because there's only 7 members of the board instead of 15 or 17, which are the other ones.
Why don't you share with the audience what LAFCO is?
So LAFCO is the Local Agency Formation Commission, and they handle all, incorporations, dissolutions, especially special districts, cities, counties, whatever it takes. If you want to change your boundaries, anything you want, LAFCO takes care of that kind of thing. So Del Paso Water District is a very small, tiny little district down in Sacramento, kind of near Watt Avenue, out to Watt Avenue. It's down that Watt Avenue and where that El Camino around there. Not very many hookups, but they are now merging with Sac Suburban. So those of you that live in Citrus Heights, Sac Suburban District, we now have Del Paso. So all we did was do the negative declaration, because merger's already been approved. So before a merger can happen, LAFCO does an in-depth study of the rates, the governance, and they had some really bad governance issues. They look at the infrastructure, how much infrastructure they have, the age of the infrastructure. They had some wells that were not working. And so now that they take over, the state gives them some grant money to fix up their stuff. So Sac Suburban will get the state money to spend it on the Del Paso hookups. So anyway, that's very interesting. That was all really on the agenda, was that issue. And then I did go to the chamber open house. It is, I think that's where Roberta McGlashan had her campaign headquarters when she was campaigning. I think that's where the same building, it's the same building, I think it's the same office. I went on the 31st, I had a lunch with all the mayors, and so the mayor of Folsom, Rancho Cordova was there, Kevin McCarty was there, Phil Cerna was there, and it was very nice to have, we compare like how are things going in your city, how are things going in your city, so it was kind of nice, I enjoyed that, it was nice. We all take turns, it'll be my turn probably in March or April, we'll see who's next. I don't think I'm second, I think I'm third. Then they had, let's see, the Metro Chamber Awards Gala. That was quite nice. We had a table real close to the exit. In the old days, that was where you wanted to sit in case of fire. We were the furthest from the stage you could be, but closest to the exit, and Portia, you knew everybody there. And you looked phenomenal. She did. She knew a lot of people. I did Monday with the mayor on February 3rd and 10th, and I usually get Mr. Shelton to visit me, but, everybody is welcome to come and spew and do whatever they want to do. I did get a briefing with the director of SACOG, and I went to the vet center. Our neighborhood is funding the vet center to get some additional security for their building. They've been ripped off a few times. And I think that's it. That's it for me. I wanted to know, are you students in the back of the room? I can't see very well, but it's been brought to my attention. Are you high school guys from?
We're from Scout Troop 107.
Scout Troop 107. Who's your spokesperson? Can you come to the microphone?
Love it.
You hid, you're Scout Troop, you could have done our pledge.
Hi.
So where are you from?
We're from kind of like the Fair Oaks, just the general area.
So Girl Scout group?
It was originally Boy Scouts, but now it's just Scouting America.
Oh, cool. Do you want to introduce your friends or anybody? Say hi to Mom.
Yeah, we're just, Troop 107G. It's really fun. We learn a lot about.
Are you working on a badge?
Yes, citizenship in the community.
Is there anything we can do to assist you in your badge?
We just have to take notes and stuff, so,
Okay,
yes.
thank you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
I think that's it. Next item.
Consent calendar. It is recommended that all consent items be acted on simultaneously unless separate discussion and/or action is requested by a council member. Item 5, we have approval of minutes. Item 6, we have quarterly treasurer's report. Item 7, we have approval of investment policy updates.
Does anyone need to pull any item for discussion or questions? Then I'll entertain a motion.
Move approval?
I'll second.
Schaefer and Lopez Taft. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimous. Next item, please.
Regular calendar item, number 10, adoption of 2025 through 2027 Economic Development Work Plan as policy and approval of the Business Attraction Incentive Program Guidelines and Small Business Design Support Program Guidelines.
Good evening, Council. I'm Megan Huber, Economic Development and Community Engagement Director. This evening, we're reviewing a really significant agenda item. It's a strategic objective that City Council set in March of 2024. And it ladders up under our goal to diversify for a vibrant economy. And the objective specifically was to prepare and present an economic development work plan to City Council, as well as establish a suite of incentives to attract sit-down dining and entertainment options. I'm going to lead with some candor here and admit this might be the heftiest work product I've ever presented you. So I've done my best to distill the comprehensive product into a presentation. Happy to stop along the way, clarify any definitions, data, other questions, and also toggle the product. So you might see some paper shifting around here, and that's just because we want to do it right. So in order to create an economic development work plan, it requires a significant amount of bandwidth. Let me back up for a minute here, because I know that we have attendees here in the audience and folks watching at home. And start with our first definition, in case we don't know. Economic development is essentially the building and growing of local economies. And that can happen at grassroots levels, local jurisdictions like Citrus Heights, regionally, statewide, and nationally. Economic development usually consists of 4 core things. It's about attracting new businesses. It's about retaining and expanding the businesses that you have. It's about marketing, and that's highly individualized, whatever it may mean for your own community. And it's about entrepreneurship and startup support. So when we consider those 4 categories of really important and also distinctive work, we have to do our homework to make sure we're gathering information that can best inform an eventual strategy, something that matches Citrus Heights. So what you saw in this product and what we'll walk through this evening is what informed this plan and also a flyover of the plan itself. And we'll review data analysis. We'll review a real estate assessment of Citrus Heights. We'll review the stakeholder outreach that informed this plan. And then we'll review highlights and eventual outcomes of the plan itself. So data analysis is extremely important because, in honesty, we think we know our community through our own individual experience, but what that is anecdotal and highly individualized. So it's important to start with really objective data to inform who your community is so you can figure out what you would like it to be. So when we look at data analysis, this is a quick snapshot of who Citrus Heights is as a community. We have over 87,000 residents. Of those residents, 45,000 are active in the labor force. I want to clarify here, that does not mean labor force in Citrus Heights. Those are Citrus Heights residents who work somewhere in the region, and maybe even further. Citrus Heights itself has almost 20,000 jobs, and we'll review where those jobs are later in the presentation. About a $75,000 median household income. Our median home value is $407,000, and we have a 22% achievement rate of a bachelor's degree or higher. And we'll review later in the presentation exactly why those numbers are important and how we use them. The top industry clusters for Citrus Heights is a prime example of why it's so important to get to know your community via data. Because when I was a Citrus Heights resident, before I represented Citrus Heights as an employee, if you would have asked me off of the street, what is the top industry in Citrus Heights? My answer would automatically be retail. But when we look at the data, that is in fact not the case. Our number 1 industry by job count is healthcare and social assistance. Second is the retail trade. Coming in third is accommodation and food services. I think most of us know via our individual experience that Citrus Heights has 0 hotels and 1 motel. So what that really represents is the plethora of restaurants and food options that we have available here. Coming in fourth is professional, scientific, and technical services, and finally, administrative and support services. I want to take a quick minute and cite our sources here. We partnered with Greater Sacramento Economic Council to source this quality data, and these top industry clusters are divided by NAICS codes, so that's where that comes from. It's a little bit tougher to quantify and fully measure what our top target industry clusters are. And the reason for that is the definition of a cluster are groups of businesses that are interconnected in functionality, supply channel, or some other way. And we measure those both by job count and number of business firms. So all that to say, we leveraged Greater Sacramento Economic Council's data analysis shop for some custom analysis, where they dove deeper into job occupation counts as well as industry cluster strengths and came up with our top target growth clusters. And there's a lot more information and data inside of the work plan, but overall what that looks like for us, taking into account a lot of other factors, making sure this is the most pragmatic list possible, is first and foremost, our top target growth cluster is healthcare and social assistance. A variety of factors inform that. The medical industry itself is certainly recession-proof for the most part, and a continuing need for all of us, combined with the fact that our population is aging and needs a continuum of care services. That makes that a top target growth cluster. Coming in second, which is really exciting given some of the community feedback that we'll review later.
Quick question for you, Megan. We have a lot of memory care, senior care facilities. Is that counted in healthcare and social assistance?
It is.
Okay, thank you.
Coming in second is consumer services, and this is a conglomeration of NAICS codes, again, looking at both occupation and industry clusters that show our second top target growth cluster is consumer services, meaning arts, entertainment, and recreation. And not to lead with the close, but I think we all know that that is one of the strongest community desires for our residents and visitors to see more of that, and it's really great to see data that backs up that growth potential. Coming in third is retail. Although it had a slight decline in job growth projection, the fact of the matter is we have majority retail real estate, and it is a core growth cluster for us. Coming in fourth is financial and professional services. Really great median incomes in those industry clusters that can fill our office spaces that we can talk about later. And finally, which I know is a passion for all of you, entrepreneurship and startups. So the second category that informed the development of this work plan is a real estate assessment. And we can dream a lot of dreams when it comes to business attraction and things that we'd like to see here. But the fact of the matter is, if we do not have real estate that is a good match for it, it will never happen. So it's extremely important to, number one, know our inventory. Number two, be really, really honest with ourselves about what we have and what we do not. And then number three, make a plan to fill that stuff. So taking a deeper look at a real estate assessment, I thought it would be fun to give council a behind-the-scenes look at what real estate looks like through an economic development lens. The image on the left is snapped from CoStar. It's a real estate database that I use, economic development practitioners in general use frequently and often to help really explore available real estate on the ground, do site searches for potential businesses and companies, and know exactly what's out there, how much it costs, what it takes to fill it. So on the left, I actually took this just this morning. This is what Citrus Heights looks like in terms of available retail real estate for lease. We're going to look at 3 more slides, but what I can tell you about this and what we talked about before is that there are the most diamonds on this screen because Citrus Heights has majority retail real estate. In addition to that, what you will have read in the work plan is the importance of site preparation, meaning know your inventory, have a working list of top 10 sites, and do the analysis work to prepare it as much as possible. So on the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see a snap of available listed retail real estate, and it should all look really familiar. I would consider 7424 Greenback probably one of our most prominent retail vacancies at this point. It sits at about 20,000 square feet and is a good match for a lot of the top target growth clusters that we just spoke about. And then certainly some other familiar locations as well. Again, just a snapshot to give you an idea of what the data looks like behind the scenes.
What do the stars mean?
The stars are the real estate ratings. Moving along, one more note, retail, business attraction varies across the board in terms of what kinds of businesses you're looking to attract. And retail recruitment is both an exact science and a persuasive art. So what I'm showing you here on this screen is a little bit about what the data looks like to perform that exact science when we're talking to retail brands. On the left-hand side of the screen, this is an image that reflects what the industry calls trade areas. So what that shows you is a 5-minute, 10-minute, and 15-minute drive time radius. The other option is to use a mile radius as well, so those would be perfect circles. Retailers have different preferences just based on what exactly it is that they're looking for, but what those ring radiuses do is capture data to show them exactly what the market looks like. And that is the center image on the screen. That is a snapshot of all of the data outputs within that 5-minute drive time radius, the red blob on the screen. And when retailers are looking for the next market they will enter into, they are doing a deep dive on these trade areas. They're looking at those metrics, those community metrics that we reviewed on one of the first slides. They immediately would need to know population size, number of rooftops, which reflects density of market, median household income to be able to reflect spending power, and then on a page not here, they also want to know traffic counts to make sure there's good visibility and activity in a market as well. So those are some examples of trade area requirements. Another least favorite, yes.
So this is data that typically the very large corporate box stores or restaurants or chains, this is the data they look at.
Correct.
What's the propensity for people who are like a sole proprietorship restaurant or business probably wouldn't dive into this deep? This is somebody from the corporate headquarters is going to look at this data and go, okay, well, this matches for. So the question is, and I don't mean to disrupt your presentation, but the question is this our focus? Are we only looking at the big, chains? The ones are we only looking at? Okay, well, if we want to get a Home Depot, this is what Home Depot is going to look at.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if we wanted to get a Pete's, original Pete's restaurant, they might look at this maybe.
It would certainly, I would consider it a smaller component of a total compelling business case, which would be the remainder of the bullets on the slide. But I would like to provide an example where maybe potential businesses don't know even when to look for data, and that's where an economic developer can provide value. As an example, City Manager Feeney and I were having a conversation with a brewery brand, hyper-local, definitely less than 10 chains, and one of their signature offerings was to be really, really pet-friendly. And certainly we can talk about how Citrus Heights is pet-friendly. I can tell them all about the Halloween parade, but that doesn't really matter when you're having that sort of quantitative conversation. What I was able to do using this data is to look at demographics and psychographics of our population and find a very specific number that shows Citrus Heights has a higher than average population of pet owners. And you bet they stayed at that table a little bit longer. So moving on what else could make up these compelling business cases, a word that a retailer does not like is cannibalization. And that is when a retail or a business moves too close to their own brand or another significantly similar business and starts to eat away at the market rather than growing it, which is why location and site selection is very important. Also important is co-tenancy, who they're going to be living next door to and with, and hopefully attracting similar demographic and psychographics too. Gap analysis is really the opposite of cannibalization, looking for what the market is missing from a use standpoint. One that comes top of mind for me as a Citrus Heights consumer, because I do my very level best to shop local all the time, is Citrus Heights has a hole in the women's clothing market. There is still market to be had in Citrus Heights for women's clothing retailers. Now, again, that's where the data does not necessarily match our anecdotal experience, right? I can think of where I shop very regularly and generate sales tax, but that means that there can still be more store offerings. So site selection, that's where economic developers build really powerful partnerships as part of business attraction, is taking the work off of a potential business's plate, already knowing site inventories, what's available, what exactly the lift is to hopefully save time and money and get them to Citrus Heights as quickly as possible. And also hopefully ride some waves of expansion strategies. And you can hear through all of that how a jurisdiction can also differentiate themselves and rise to the top as an eventual selection through incentives and support. Moving on to office real estate, the image on the left represents available office leases on the market right now. The Citrus Heights market sits at a current vacancy rate of about 14% compared to a Sacramento market overall rate of 18%. Some important factors in office site selection are workforce availability and labor market fit, which is why we talk about those workforce numbers, job creation numbers, minimum education levels, skilled trade activity, et cetera. Office space condition and classifications can also be important. Hybrid work and office space demand is certainly more relevant now than ever in a post-COVID environment. Again, co-tenancy and clustering. Councilmember Schaefer, I can feel a burning question, and I'm happy to take it. Just jump in. It's like double dutch.
And you just touched on what my question was, is this, are these post-COVID numbers, and what did they look like before COVID?
It was in the work plan. What I recall from the numbers was we certainly had an increase in vacancy, COVID, and then a smidge of stabilization. And we still look better than the Orangevale mid-market along with the Sacramento market. So looking at those numbers in total, I would consider the Citrus Heights office market relatively stable, candidly. Moving on, co-tenancy and industry clustering. Medical wants to be by medical, right? Think about Dewey Drive and similar. And then finally, again, local incentives and business support. Finally, our third category of real estate is industrial style real estate, and that is almost a blank map. And the reason for that is Citrus Heights has only 11 industrial style properties within its city limits. I'm going to again be candid and let you know, as an economic developer, that's very difficult, because what that means is that every other jurisdiction in the Sacramento region gets to play with really cool stuff, except for us a lot of times. When we look at Greater Sacramento Economic Council's target industry clusters, those are majority industrial style real estate, things like mobility, advanced manufacturing, agriculture, ag tech, and other. So all that to say, that's why it's even more important for Citrus Heights to have its own authentic economic development strategy.
And as I recall from my training with GSEC, was that 88% of our population travels out of the city for work.
I'd have to confirm that.
Might be old, but...
But you bring up another great point of it's not a means to an end of industry cluster attraction either. There is so much give and take of workforce and cluster building. It's not clean on jurisdictional lines. Certainly, rising tide lifts all ships. So moving into the stakeholder outreach that informed this plan, that also had 3 segments. First, I want to express gratitude and recognize Director Kempenar and our community development staff who assisted with this portion of outreach, certainly as it related to zoning and other entitlement processes. It was a wonderful teamwork that resulted in a lot of this development and business community feedback. What we heard in terms of insights when we interviewed property developers, property owners, property brokers, property managers who engage in this discussion is that for Citrus Heights, we're evolving our retail landscape as it is aging, which takes creativity and a business-friendly mindset. Great news, they certainly feel that from staff. Said staff is responsive, and in creating solutions together as much as possible. But certainly it's one bite of the elephant at a time when we're talking about how to reuse aging commercial real estate. We also heard a lot about emerging uses that might not be fully reflected in codes or requirements, things like axe throwing, larger entertainment uses that have a higher bar for entitlement process that we could easily lower, which was a subsequent recommendation in our actual work plan that we'll see. And then finally, I don't think I'm telling anyone anything new, that across the board there is a burgeoning demand for drive-throughs. We talked about how COVID affected the office market. COVID absolutely affected the land use market. Folks found new ways to grab food and get dinner and have a new muscle memory for the way that works. So that is certainly reflected in market demand and what we're hearing on the ground. Additionally, challenges, many businesses, especially the small ones, have an unfamiliarity with the permitting process, and I'm happy to say that there is a solution inside of this work plan that can make progress on that. We've also heard about zoning thresholds and building in even more flexibility to maintain our business-friendly credo. We heard more about fee structures in a way that we could possibly be more pragmatic around how to process projects. And then, as we reviewed before, we definitely heard about our limited light industrial opportunities. The second category of feedback was from our residents via a flash vote. Flash vote is a tool that we use to gather statistically valid community sentiment data. We found that on average, Citrus Heights residents rate our business options and offerings as neutral at an average 3 points out of 5, and that residents 35 and under are satisfied at a higher percentage than other age ranges. We also deduced from the data that of all options preventing residents from shopping or dining more in Citrus Heights, a clear top 2 selections emerged, and that was not enough higher-end stores and restaurants, and that shopping centers and storefronts need renovations. We asked residents what types of additional businesses or services do you think we need the most in Citrus Heights, and again, overwhelmingly top 2 selections: 1, restaurants and cafes; 2, entertainment and recreational options. And then finally, we asked residents, what do you think could be the most helpful in getting desired businesses to come to Citrus Heights? And we heard, make commercial areas look nicer and cleaner, improve infrastructure, and make commercial areas safer. And I wouldn't be doing my communications job if I didn't put a quick plug in. If residents are dissatisfied that they weren't able to share their opinion on Flash Vote, they can very easily sign up at citrusheights.net/stay connected to receive surveys. Finally, we asked for feedback from you, our city council representing our community. And I have to say, I was so grateful to get the depth and breadth of thoughtful responses that I did, and they are going to be permanently kept on file for future use, because they're great. What I did here was to pull out themes of what I heard from the feedback so that you can see how that they're reflected within this work plan. We heard that council would like to see proactive attraction and retention of desired businesses, including potential incentives. We heard a shared desire to create vibrancy with a balanced mix of small business and destination concepts. We heard a clear direction to maximize business-friendly policies. We heard a passion for new and exciting marketing to make sure Citrus Heights is on the map and it stays there in its most authentic and engaging way. We heard a lot of emphasis on commercial corridor revitalization, which reflects exactly what we've talked about in our real estate assessment. We heard about infrastructure investment to continue that revitalization. We heard about community engagement and business collaboration, great new ideas on how to do that, great partners to do it with now, including our Citrus Heights Chamber. We heard the importance of economic diversification, a workforce development, and career pathway programming. A great example of that is Sacramento Valley Manufacturing Alliance, how they're working with our schools, building K-12, post-secondary, and beyond, again, offering options for our residents to be active in the regional labor force. And then we heard great passion about entrepreneurship and the transcendent emphasis on quality of life. So all of this was just thrown into a blender, and then I poured it into a cup for you. And it's a pretty big cup with a few different layers, and this probably sounds familiar because these are the definitions and the categories of what makes up economic development. So there are recommendations in the work plan via focus areas, implementation steps, and also metrics to objectively measure plan success in each of these areas: business attraction and development services, business retention and expansion, small business support and innovation, marketing and placemaking, and organizational culture. I want to pause here and pull on a few threads that were included in the staff report. The way this work plan is designed is a recommendation to implement it as policy. It does not currently have a fiscal impact because each of the implementation steps will happen as we're building this program and be reflected in our budgeting processes. So council will be able to track this every step along the way, how we're pulling these implementation steps through. And then, in addition, this does not require any additional bandwidth because the Economic Development and Community Engagement Department is retooling an analyst role to focus solely on economic development. So what you see in between the pages right now is a lot of time, effort, and sweat equity, and then we'll bring action steps as we're ready. So in the category of business attraction and development services, there are recommendations and action steps really in 6 core categories. First and foremost, we heard from our development and business community the importance of streamlined processes and business-friendly policies. There are recommendations inside of the work plan of easy ways that we can do that. Again, I want to thank my colleague, Director Kempenaar, who pulled all of that information and eventual action steps together. The work plan also details a refreshed and targeted retail recruitment strategy. And the word that's not used there, which really should be, is a proactive recruitment strategy. And that'll be both in retail along with those top growth industry clusters. It also has a recommendation to reinstate our business attraction incentive program, which fulfills the action step in the strategic objective set to bring forth a toolbox of incentives. We saw success with this program by attracting Dark Heart Brewery. We know how to use it even more now with that success under our belt, and we know how to scale it using that targeted recruitment strategy. So it is, for all intents and purposes, a selling tool. Another selling tool, once businesses are ready to land, especially small businesses, is the Small Business Design Support Program. I want to take a minute to pause on this because the program really reflects a structural tension between businesses who have a dream and the processes that they need to go through. We've heard a lot from small businesses and business advocates that it's really hard to know how to walk through the process when you haven't done it before. And add to that, you're on a clock. You signed a lease. So you're in it to win it, and there's a great risk involved. So the Small Business Design Support Program was created especially to meet those small businesses where they need support by plugging them in to qualified design professionals and expediting plans to get a certificate of occupancy on file, specifically for sites that need no or very minimal work. As an example of how that could work, there is a restaurant in Citrus Heights that is so successful and looking to expand. They signed a lease and a larger property that, for all intents and purposes, looks turnkey, but had nothing on file. And that was because another restaurant had been there for a really long time. And in order to get a certificate of occupancy, we got to get stuff on file. That's our obligation as a local jurisdiction. So this small business who was ready to start cleaning the kitchen is now starting in on an entirely new process. And they had to find a designer. We had to walk them through the process. And it was a lot slower than they intended. So what this program does will save time, save money, and get small businesses into spots faster. We're also really excited to expand the toolbox even further through effective partnerships. One example of that is to work with potential banking partners to pull through third-party programs. And finally, really excited to offer enhanced development services support with this new economic development analyst role. Folks need an advocate, not just on the inside, a central point of contact, but with third-party agencies and other requirements as well. So this role will be well-informed and well-trained on what the development ecosystem looks like and how to walk our businesses through the process as easily and seamlessly as possible. Next up, the category of business retention and expansion. There's an old sales adage that 20% of your book comes from new business and 80% of it comes from existing business. So you work smarter and have more outcomes by maintaining what you have even before you go out and get new stuff. And a business retention program is extremely important to create relationships between a jurisdiction and its businesses, and it takes a structured program to do so. So the recommendation in the work plan is to create a program that will guarantee at least annual visits to Citrus Heights' top 25 sales tax producers and top 25 job producers. And that will involve surveys, exploratory questions, uncovering pain points to make sure that we are effectively keeping and hopefully expanding local businesses on the ground. We're also really excited at the prospect of enhancing public safety resources. There's so much of what we've built through our community image and beautification initiatives that can be very easily translated to our business community through effective public relations. And there's an entire plan in there. I'm calling it the Business Safety Hub, and I'm really excited to work with the Citrus Heights Police Department to build that out and help showcase exactly everything Citrus Heights is doing to keep our businesses safe and happy. The plan also shows how we will provide public relations value to our existing businesses to help amplify them and create marketing opportunities. And finally, it identifies implementation steps for stronger workforce development connectivity. Moving on to our third category, small business support and innovation. It details increasing accessibility to technical assistance for our small businesses. That will both be information accessible through our website, here in the office, one-on-one visits, along with partnerships and programming that we can pull through here to our spaces. We've also created some implementation steps to make a more identifiable startup ecosystem in Citrus Heights. The thing about entrepreneurship in Citrus Heights is there's a lot hiding in plain sight, and it's not necessarily as loud of a community as it is in other jurisdictions. And luckily for our entrepreneurs, Citrus Heights knows how to be loud. So we're really excited to wrap our arms even more around this community, do some marketing, communications, technical assistance, and hopefully maybe even build it into some incubation or acceleration programs or similar. Whatever is the best match. It's important that we don't prescribe this before we know exactly what the need is, but we're looking forward to uncovering more. And then finally, pulling small business support on the ground and offering even more opportunities for our businesses to engage in our own community events. Almost there. I think this is the second to last bucket, marketing and placemaking. This category details increased economic development communications impact. We've done a great job in this category, candidly, scrappily, as we can, as we're out visiting businesses, but we're looking to build even more structure in this space to create even more impact. We're excited to build out consistent stakeholder communications. I want to recognize Communications Officer Marissa Brown, who in the last year relaunched our Economic Development e-newsletter, meant to be sharing of news and resources to our business. We'll build on that even more, both through consumer communications and direct-to-business communications, along with creating really strong business owner and developer consistent communications as well. There's plans in the plan to influence commercial corridor beautification, along with grassroots marketing and placemaking. And finally, the fifth category is about organizational culture. And I teach a class for the California Association of Economic Development. I teach the business attraction and marketing class. And so many students come in wondering how the heck they're gonna do this big job as one person. How do you build a local economy with one person's bandwidth? And the answer is, it's not one person. The answer is everyone is an economic developer. For Citrus Heights, it starts with our internal staff, the best, frankly, in my opinion, around, a really great crew. We've made plans to build more structured training and access to economic development subject matter, expertise, and knowledge, which will continue to pull through on business-friendly environment making. And then past that, as detailed in the staff report, we'd like to do even more implementation steps, making sure that we're identifying everyone that makes up our Citrus Heights business community as an ambassador for economic development. That is internal staff, development services, city council, our business associations, property owners, property managers, property developers, and beyond. The list is endless. And if we can provide the right education and create the appropriate level of passion, then we will have an entire army of economic development ambassadors. So that brings us to the end of the work plan overview. And what we're looking to do this evening is to adopt the work plan as policy, as well as approve the 2 program guidelines that we reviewed during this presentation. And that's the recommendation, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right. Portia, you have any questions or comments, or you want to just do questions first and before we get to the resolution, or what do you want to do, Megan? Just do questions?
Certainly.
Let's do questions, so we can clarify anything in your brain. No questions? Questions? Good questions? Comments, okay.
Well,
Questions?
I do have a question, just for the, because we tend, because we work with these acronyms all day, every day.
Did I not define an acronym,
Well,
Councilmember
no,
Schaefer?
there's, like, what's the NAICS code? What does that mean?
What? X?
Oh,
I didn't,
a NAICS code.
oh,
Can I?
National American Industry Classification System.
That's it.
That means every job out there, and I work with NAICS codes all the time. Every job out there has a specific, it'll usually start with a 3-3, or it starts with 2-digit, and then when you get more specific, the digits get longer. So it is, when we, like I said, when we first started talking about this, we started talking about where our people are working, what industries they're working in. Some of these codes are really broad, and so you really don't, like I'm always looking for the precision manufacturing versions of this, and it is challenging to go through and find the right code. And all these codes also relate to workers' compensation claims or workers' compensation rates. So you can say, okay, I'm going to do this job, and here's what the corresponding rate for workers' comp is. So anyhow, but that's just kind of, I think we need to be sensitive to, we have an audience, we even have, and no offense to my colleagues, but we have folks that are, we just brush over some of these acronyms without really understanding what they mean.
Yeah, great catch, thank you.
Any questions?
Nope.
Okay,
No
comments,
question.
questions. I had questions, that's why I thought I'd start with questions. So, when you were doing the, clusters by employment, where were public employees? I know we have a lot of people in our city who work for public agencies. They didn't match in there, huh? Or are they under one of the other categories?
When we do cluster analysis, the preference is in tradable industry clusters. So these are jobs that create other jobs.
Oh, okay. Okay. Another question. Can you use CDBG money for workforce development?
I would not be able to speak on that.
We'll just put that question in
We
the
will.
parking lot.
I'd love to look into that and get back to you.
Oh, here comes Casey. I was just wondering.
Yeah, we have done that in the past with CDBG. Right now we have one with Pride Industries that helps do some of the workforce training there, so that is an eligible expense in our CDBG.
Okay, great. I was just wondering. What else? I have one more. Is there something in your plan that gets, sometimes there's a, I don't want to call them a shopping center, but what do they call those when, what do they call? Strip malls, where they're occupied. They look terrible. So if one were to be vacant, when I want to put my business in this, so do we have a program that you call up the owner of the strip mall and say, we've got a program, or you could put in some trees, or you could put in something to cool your cement, if cars would want to park there in the summer, somehow make it more attractive. Do we have that in our program?
We do offer a few programs currently, even before the work plan, that can achieve the kinds of goals that you're talking about. We have our Activate Auburn program, which provides planning assistance, design assistance, along with match funding to implement exterior improvements. So,
Do anybody ever take you up on the offer?
yes, I had a pretty good run with that program pre-COVID. I mean, some examples when you drive down Auburn Boulevard are Crepes and Burgers, the Lilliput building. We offer a sign support grant that is design and design assistance, which did the monument signage there at Citrus Plaza. So it takes a willing property owner, and it does take having match funding.
Oh, okay.
And then just rounding out that suite of existing incentives, we just talked about the Activate Auburn program. As a reminder, we also have a design assistance program to help with exterior improvements citywide, not just Auburn. And then we have a signage improvement program that helps improve outdated signage or that in disrepair. A recent example of that is Humley Beer House. Leverage that program.
So,
And I did not see anywhere, maybe I missed over it in those, it's like a master's thesis, which you produced. It was kind of cool. I did not see a partnership with like the Auburn Boulevard Business Association and the Antelope Crossing Business Association. And so that I didn't see them mentioned by name. And I assume they're in with collaborations, but
I would certainly love to include them in collaborations. Those business associations, as it stands right now, best case, we could say dormant. Worst case, we could say defunct. It's really difficult to find champions ready to pick up the mantle for a business
this is a
association.
plan. We could just plan to make them non-defunct.
We absolutely could. I'm going to take on adding that as an implementation step bullet to identify potential champions. There's a section in there about hyper local geographic marketing. I think that would fit really great under.
Because I went to one of their meetings, and it wasn't well attended. But I think once the Auburn Boulevard is complete, there may be a new influx of businesses that want to, join together to make it better.
Absolutely. Well, and Mayor, thinking more about your insight, if I can take a second pass at that, and maybe let's treat our first iteration as the hyper-local geographic marketing that I'm talking about. One instance in particular that is not dormant or defunct is the activity that we've got going now at Sylvan Corners. And I want to give City Council maximum credit for that, because by adding the brewery, we not only added a brewery, we added a community champion in Cynthia Lee, and she is already pulling those businesses together, really excited about co-marketing and placemaking. So if it's okay, I'd like to
Is there a
stick with.
restaurant move in there? Isn't there a restaurant move in there now, too? No, the Uzbek restaurant, moving to Sylvan Corners?
That's I don't
I saw it
know
in the
how
paper.
much is official yet. But there is a really great restaurant spot there that I'm positive will be backfilled very quickly.
Okay, great. Those are questions. Okay, now we'll go to comments. I'll start with.
I have
oh, you
one
got
more question.
Okay, go.
Okay. So, do we know how many commercial buildings we have in the city, the total count? No, any idea?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay, so I'd certainly be interested in that number. The next number I'd be interested in is that I suspect that many, well, I wouldn't say many, but a significant percentage of those properties are actually owned by folks that don't live even in the country, which makes it challenging to work with them because they're in China or they're in India or they're somewhere where,
Out of sight, out of mind.
yes, where their property may be affecting the entire community, but we just don't have access to work with them. So I'd certainly like to, it'd be interesting to know what percentage of those properties and what the impact of those properties are. Like, for example, I don't know for sure, but Grand Oak Shopping Center. Grand Oak Shopping Center was owned by somebody who was in China, who has a fairly different perspective of what aesthetically that building should look like. That could affect the entire Auburn Boulevard corridor.
Well, and taking it one level deeper, I'm so glad that you're shining a light on this, Councilmember Schaefer. Grand Oak Shopping Center is actually owned by 3 property owners.
Okay, well,
Which makes it even more difficult. So if you find one of those property owners as a champion, I can tell you through my history of work, it's very unlikely that you will find another 2 who are ready to do an uplift of a property. It's really hard stuff. It's really hard stuff, which is why a lot of the revitalization that you see, a lot of the examples that I listed that took advantage of our programs, those were single standing buildings, and those were local property owners and local businesses. So I just want to take one more minute and shine a light on a recommendation and some implementation steps that you'll see in the plan that specifically has to do with the issue that you are referencing of absent or negligent commercial property owners. The fact of the matter is there is no tool or program that we could offer that would pull their attention back to Citrus Heights, which means attention needs to be gotten in another way. If they are making a decision to keep their building in poor repair, those have consequences. We have municipal code and building code and code enforcement that details the standards of care that we require of our commercial and residential property, and you'll see some of that language in the work plan as well.
Okay, that's it.
Okay, so any questions more? Any questions? I'm going to start with Portia, because you poor thing, you've been sitting down there, having you ready to make your comments. I can hear you.
So, Megan, thank you so much for this comprehensive report. This was very much eye-opening. I love seeing the whole kind of map of where all our available retail space is, and I think it's important for folks, sitting here tonight to understand that, it's really hard to fill some of these spaces. There's a lot of challenges there, but by putting together this plan, we are getting in the position to actually be able to address those issues. That was it.
So I'm probably the council member that's most interested in entrepreneurship. And I really love how, first of all, that we have a plan. because you can't accomplish anything without a plan. And so thank you for taking the time to write such a comprehensive plan covering all the areas, including entrepreneurship and the very, very micro business, because I think they need the most support sometimes. And so my comment and question is, are you working with our local resources such as the Chamber of Commerce, surrounding chambers of commerce also, and our USSBA that's literally in our backyard?
Yes, and a great point of pride that they are too. In fact, SBA has shared some fresh intentions to pull together economic development working groups.
SBA is Small Business Administration.
Thank you, the Small Business Administration. It was a test, wasn't it? So the great news is those partners, we do really good at staying in touch while we're running pretty hard, but there are so many partners now who are looking for even more intentional ways to connect and create together. So maximum potential on the length of the partner list, absolutely.
Thank you for you and your team and your hard work. Your team of two, is it? With all this hard work. I know it is a monumental document, so thank you.
We're going to start with Nelson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I am so excited that you are the person leading this department. You can definitely tell, hearing you talk about this plan, that you have a passion for the work that you do. So that's super exciting. I am very impressed with how robust this work plan is. And as a millennial, it really feels like you're helping make our city Instagrammable. Yeah, and that totally fits with the quote that you touched on, which is near the beginning of the work plan, that I loved, and I wrote it down about everybody being an economic developer. And so it's, the people who are visiting the businesses and they're taking photos and they're tagging Citrus Heights as the location of whatever business they're visiting, and that's super exciting. So fantastic job. I also really appreciate the focus on the staff being so helpful and helping guide businesses through the process that they have to go through, taking their dream of the business into a reality. I'm sure it's very intimidating doing that as an entrepreneur and a small business owner, so that just sounds fantastic. Thank you.
Councilmember Schiff.
Yes, I was just looking for that graph you showed with all the demographic on there, demographic information on there. Is that in the staff report?
That is in narrative format in the work plan itself.
Oh, okay. But it's not in the staff report.
No.
I don't see
The
it here.
narrative,
In the,
in the narrative.
Okay.
it would be in the data analysis section.
Okay. All right. Anyhow, great job. Really, really interesting information and powerful information. Thank you.
I just want to say thank you as well, because I know this, like, every time I saw you, say, wait, we're doing a work plan. So I noticed that you had like a whole lot of do list at the end of each one of your focus areas. So are you going to put those out like we do with our strategic plan objectives, where you list them, in the order that you're going to do them, check, done, come to council when you need us to change something? And so, because it'd be nice to see the whole list as
Yes.
like our strategic plan list.
Absolutely. In fact, a commitment that I made in the introduction of the work plan is that with its implementation, there'll be a dynamic dashboard that will be reviewed with city staff quarterly and then with council annually. Happy to share or talk on
Well,
it
I
or
think we're
chew
gonna
on it
need
in
more than
between.
annual. I think we should have periodic updates when you make achievements, because there's a list there, some of which are easy, some of which are a little more lengthy. And so I think as you make your milestones to let us know that it's happening, even as an attachment to
Sure,
our,
Around here, we believe that we have to celebrate all of the wins.
that's right.
because you work hard for them.
Anyway, I think it's fantastic. I really like that you got community input, and and that we're gonna go proactive, because we just can't wait for people to come to Citrus Heights. We have to go find what we want and get them here, one way or another. So that's good. So there is a resolution that we can adopt if somebody wants to make a motion.
I'll make a motion. I make a motion that we adopt the 2025-2027 Economic Development Work Plan as policy and approve the business attraction incentive guidelines and small business support program guidelines.
A second.
And seconded by Councilmember Nelson. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Is that okay? We're good?
Madam Mayor, before we leave this item, if I could just make a couple of quick comments.
Sure.
I just want to compliment Director Huber on her work here. In most jurisdictions, if you gave an economic development director this task, the first thing they say is, oh, well, let's go hire a consultant. And I've seen many of those plans. And I'd stack the work she did, herself against any of those. It was very comprehensive, included all the stakeholder outreach. We would have paid to bundle if we outsourced this plan, and we wouldn't have got the same results. This is a Citrus Heights specific plan for economic development. Very well done, very comprehensive, rooted in data, talking about a plan that works for Citrus Heights, our demographics, what the city has to offer. So just wanted to compliment her on that work. She's a certified economic developer, and it really showed true in the way she approached and prepared this plan. So thank you very much for excellent effort on this.
Yeah. That's all true. Okay, so we have adopted our resolution. Good job, Megan. Next item, please.
Sorry about that, my mic wouldn't turn on. The next item is item number 11, and that is mediation services to resolve neighbor-to-neighbor disputes.
Well, good evening, Madam Mayor, Madam Vice Mayor, and council members. Chris Fry, Special Services Division Commander with the Police Department. And joining me this evening is Nicole Piva, Housing and Human Services Program Coordinator with the city. We're here this evening to seek direction from the council on recommendations that staff prepared regarding mediation services to neighbor disputes. This particular item is a strategic objective that was adopted during the strategic planning retreat that took place on March 28th of last year. The objective of the strategic goal was to have staff from city and PD collaborate to develop recommendations after exploring different mediation options in resolving neighbor-to-neighbor disputes, and to seek direction from council with the recommendations that were drafted. To give some context regarding the conflicts between neighbors, it's important to note that typical issues within the community often revolve around property lines, parking disputes, and trees that straddle property boundaries. These neighborly disputes typically arise from a lack of effective communication, resulting in increased tension between the involved parties. Such situations often necessitate intervention from city officials, including those from code enforcement, pop detectives, planning, or our building department. In response to these challenges, staff from the police department and the city have collaborated to explore ways to enhance support for our community and have crafted a set of recommendations for the council's review and consideration this evening.
All right, thank you, Commander Fry. Good evening, Mayor, council members. Next, I'd like to present two potential recommendations for your consideration tonight. We have recommendation number 1. The recommendation would be to send a POP officer, also known as a problem-oriented policing officer, to mediation training. POP officers already play a vital role in resolving conflict in the community by applying problem-solving strategies. But by attending the mediation training, they would only enhance their effectiveness and provide additional tools for the POP officer to mediate conflict. So during the mediation, the POP officer would assist in facilitating a mutually agreeable resolution between both parties. The goal is to reach a written agreement that would be accepted by both parties and ultimately resolving the conflict. The agreement would be signed by the parties and filed for reference. Two training options that support this recommendation, one being the UC Davis. It offers mediation course along with the Sacramento Mediation Center. Both are very similar, offering a 40-hour combination of recorded and interactive online lectures over a 3-month period. And then in the end, it would provide a variety of techniques to be effective in conflict resolution. The estimated cost for this recommendation is about $650 to $1,450. This is a flexible budget. You can send one officer to the UC Davis Mediation, one to Sacramento Mediation Center, or you can send up to 2. Recommendation number 2, the city would partner with the Sacramento Mediation Center. It's a nonprofit organization that's been providing services since 2008. This partnership would serve for situations where a POP officer is not able to fully mediate a dispute between neighbors. In these cases, the involvement of an impartial third party can help facilitate a solution. The Sacramento Mediation Center would offer mediation services, with the city covering the initial cost of the $25 to open a mediation case. This program would include up to 2 mediation sessions, and in the end, both parties would sign a written agreement outlining the resolution. So each party's fee for the first 2 mediation sessions is due in advance, and it's based on an individual's income. So we're estimating about $12,000 for this pilot program. We're estimating about serving to 10 households. A funding source for this program has not been identified. Depending on the direction of council tonight, we would submit a request to have this program included in the mid-year budget. So we've provided some background, some information, and have outlined 2 potential recommendations for your consideration. We think that implementing a mediation program would be a very valuable resource and an added tool for city staff, especially those that regularly work with neighbors to resolve conflict. So next, we'd like to hear your feedback and your thoughts on moving forward with how to mediate neighbor-to-neighbor disputes. Here for any questions.
Do you have a slide that we have in our council packet with the costs based on, yeah, that one? Did I, okay.
Yes, so I added this. So Sacramento Mediation Center, they have a fee schedule. It's based on the household income. So the $12,000, I based it off of it's not a conservative number that I used. I just based it off of a household of $100,000 to $200,000. So you have your $25 initial cost to open that case. 10 households, that's $250. Each party, so party A, party B, both would have to pay the first 2 sessions in advance. So each party would owe the $500. 2 parties involved, that's $1,000. So the $1,000 times the 10 households plus the $250 is $10,250. So I kind of rounded up a little bit.
And so the city would bear that cost, that's the $12,000, so the owner, the party does not pay it.
Correct.
We pay it on behalf of the party.
If that's the direction, yes.
Okay. Councilman Nelson, questions, comments?
Yes, some questions. If the parties agree say they go to the mediation services and they agree, but one person reneges and the agreement falls apart, is there anything in the language that they would pay the city back for what we've paid for their services? So that's a great question. I think a couple different options. We can work with the city attorney to draft some sort of agreement that both parties would sign, and if something like that did happen, we could have some language in there saying that the money would be paid back. Okay, great. It seems like we should have some protection just in case. And then I was curious, do the neighbors sign with a notary if they come to an agreement? Or it's just, if it's with the POP officer, he's identified them, and so they can't go back and say, oh, that wasn't me, I didn't sign, or anything like that? Just thinking of all the possibilities.
Yeah, so in that situation, it would be the POP officer that would arrange and coordinate the signatures between both parties involved.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, do I have any other questions about it right now? Nope,
If you think of any, don't pop in later.
thank you.
You're jumping
So,
around.
and I like that suggestion. The downside, the tough part would be, I think, is really difficult to collect.
Yeah, but you could have someone put up the money that's refundable when the agreement is met.
Yeah, but if they decide, well, I don't have the money for that, then what do you're just like, I'm not going to participate. So, I think, that's I just think that this would be really difficult to collect if they were to renege. But I don't see any downside of having it there. But on the other hand,
It makes them not want to renege.
right, well, maybe. We have some people that have some really serious mental health challenges here. And that's the bigger issue. I'm not going to mention any names, but I think that they just don't connect the dots on what this would really, what the implications would be. I'm not participating. So it's a really tough issue, for sure.
But I think the mediator, we call it, process the people to see who's a likely candidate for mediation. If they don't pass the test, if they're not
Okay, so
connecting the
what do
dots,
we do if they don't pass the test for mediation?
they don't go to mediation.
Okay. All right. So, the other concern I have with regard to sending one officer or two officers to training is, we do, number one, our officers aren't on duty 7 days a week, 24/7. They get vacations, they get sabbatical, they get all the stuff that we want them to have. But when we're investing in that particular, we may not have somebody available to address this at the time we need them. So that really leans me towards going to an outside agency and saying, hey, at least we could have this potentially. I'd like to know, how are they vetted? Are they in a position to provide the service when we need it? Because a lot of these things are really critical that it gets handled right now, right away, not, well, we'll deal with that in a couple of weeks, because we got people that are, like I said, have some serious challenges, and it may not meet the threshold that they don't qualify for mediation. So I suppose it's better than nothing, but I think that we'd learn a lot by doing this one way or the other.
Sure, and I think I could shed just a little bit of light on that. So to answer your question, Councilman, Member Schaefer, the POP officers, yes, they do have time off, but the goal of our POP unit is to expand the program and expand the unit to have additional officers, or detectives rather, that will be a part of that unit as well. For if the council chooses to go with recommendation number one, the ultimate goal would be to send immediately one POP officer, or POP detective rather, to possibly the UC Davis training, which is a little bit of a hybrid training where a lot of it's online and there is some in person, so it's not all on campus. But the ultimate goal would be to get some feedback from that training, find out if that's the most applicable training, or if we would need to then consider maybe going to the Sacramento Mediation Center for the additional course. But to answer your question, sir, it would be making sure that we get both interested parties involved, connected with a POP detective that can then set up and arrange to have that mediation take place.
Yeah, I do like the idea of investing the training in our people directly. So I would support option one.
Before I go on to this side, I have a question. Do your fees that you had there, are those the fees if we have our own mediator? Is the fee different if you use their mediator at the Sacramento Mediation Center? Because they have mediators.
Right, those fees are set by the Sacramento Mediation Center.
So those are the fees if we bring our own mediators.
Yes.
What are the fees if they use their mediators?
So I'm not sure if they have a volunteer type mediators. So if we use their mediators, that's their set schedule.
Okay. So it's the same. Go ahead, Portia.
Some really great, kind of road bumps, some blockages that we might have to work through here. My next thing is because, we all live in our neighborhood, right? And I know we have every time again, we have a neighbor or two who might, abuse a kind of a system like this. I would think that we would want to say if you're a person in between two houses, for instance, you can't say, oh, I'm going to mediate with neighbor A, and then okay, that's solved, and I'm going to go over here and mediate with neighbor B, right? One per person kind of deal. I think we need to kind of make sure that it's available for, I see you laughing, but I'm so serious. I think it's very critical to make sure that everyone gets an opportunity to be able to have this service. So if we continue it, I want to see a expansion of saying, one per calendar year or something like that, right? Otherwise, use ChatGPT and figure it out. I don't know.
Thank you both for bringing this report. I really am excited that we have two very good, well-thought-out recommendations. Even though there might be some amendments we'd like to see, the fact that we offer this as a city is pretty incredible. Otherwise, you're talking lawyer fees and things of that nature when it's that level of a dispute, or fines and things like that we would levy against code violations, et cetera, that are discovered on our behalf. I really think the feedback from my fellow council members really is important to take into consideration in the execution of this. I really like tooling up our officers with extra tools for their tool belts. And I think whether it be one or two, I prefer two myself. I think we should always be able to compare the two different programs, and in the future, potentially make decisions on what program we prefer if we decide to grow the program a little bit more, and maybe we can rent out our service. But for recommendation 2, so the limited number of police officers being trained in the moment of need, I think, is a very valid concern. And that's why I personally would like to recommend that 2 of our officers be trained in this skill set. For option number 2, I too am of the mind of our residents who require or request mediation have some skin in the game. I think we should pay to open the case, and we will reimburse for successful mediations, rather than paying for it up front. You never respect anything that you have someone else pay for. And I think if they're serious about this low-cost, affordable, yet professional mediation service, they will partner with us as individuals in the conflict to do that. So that's my recommendation, that we allocate certain amount, whatever the budget request is. And I like that you called it a pilot for a year, because that means we do it for 1 year, whatever that determined year is, and then we evaluate it. Because it may be that paying for their initial case opening is not enough, and we discover that through our year, but we're committed to a year of discovery, of usage and participation and skin in the game. Coupled with, I do like both recommendations together as kind of a 1-2 punch approach to helping mediation happen. So those are my comments.
I support all your comments, Mary Jane. I think they're good. I took the Sacramento mediation training years ago, and it's a great training program. And what they do is, after you go through all the hours and hours of training, you do some mock mediations there. And then when you're ready to go into they throw you in the the field, you assist. So you sit next to the what do you call, the certified mediator, and you sit through 3 of those and write up stuff, and then you are the main one, and they assist. And so it's a process to get certified. So I don't know if it's a 1-year project, how long it takes our mediator to get really up to speed, because the people down there are so incredible that at mediating. In fact, when I was doing the training, there was a guy from Citrus Heights mediating his barking dog with another guy, and he felt really bad that his neighbor didn't like his barking dog. And he was willing to send his dog to his brother in Oregon to make the neighbor happy. So, and they do the little contracts that they sign, and I just would like to think, though, that if we're going to do a pilot program, that we include one of their mediators in our program for our guys to learn from someone who does it. You know, say they're not going to become expert at it for a while. And so if it's a 1-year program, it might take them almost that time just to get up to speed. So if there's a hybrid approach where we could use their services and then break away from them when our guys, so that's my thought. I know the process of training is not just 6 weeks and you're ready to go.
Yeah, you bring up a great point, Mayor. You mentioned the word unique. When I was researching the UC Davis training, I would say it is absolutely unique. And what I mean by that is the 40-hour course is extended over a 3-month time period just to get the students through that course. I don't know what the Sacramento Mediation Center requires, whether or not it's more of an intensive 40-hour course in 1 week, or if it's spread
A
over.
couple of all-day Saturdays, and so I'm not sure.
Okay.
I don't remember, it was back then.
Yeah, the UC Davis course was definitely unique in that way.
I have another question. So I am also inclined to do a hybrid approach and have kind of an escalation. The POP detective would meet with them first, and then if they can't resolve it with them, then it would go to the mediation center. Just to clarify, though, if they meet with the POP detective, that would be free of charge for the neighbors, right? And for us, aside from their initial training?
That is correct, ma'am, yes.
Okay.
Oh, okay. That makes a difference. So is the plan, what are you asking tonight? You got some feedback, and then you're going to bring back an idea, and then we approve that? Is that what you're going to do?
So we would like some direction on which option you would like to go with.
Both.
Yeah, both for me, too,
All of the above.
with the POP detective being
Plus all the
first.
comments that you heard from us. See what you can incorporate.
Can we make a motion for that tonight, or are we
No,
ready
we
for
don't
that?
need a motion. I think they just need some direction.
Oh, okay.
I think just to clarify what I heard is both options, but also if they go to the option where there's expense beyond the POP detective, and where they actually have to go to Sacramento mediation and there's costs incurred, that there's some sort of provision and agreement for clawback if they don't adhere to the mediated settlement agreement, or if they don't reach mediation.
That sounds good.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Is there
Thank you.
anything else you want us to do? That's it?
I think we're good. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Wonderful job.
Okay.
Okay.
Next item, please.
That would be department reports, and we have no items.
Next item.
City managers' items.
All right, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the council, Ash Finney, your city manager. I do have a couple little brief updates. One of them I want to announce on the next slide here is we had our Arcade Cripple Creek Trail project receive yet another award. It's been really, hitting the rounds on the awards, but this is really a special award. It was recognized in January by the Women's Transportation Seminar, Sacramento chapter. And I learned that this is the Women's Transportation Seminar. It did start out originally as a seminar, but it's grown to be an international group that has chapters throughout various regions, and they give one award a year. And so our chapter awarded our team's Arcade Cripple Creek Trail project, and so it is a pretty prestigious award. And there's only one given, and we received it. So very happy about that. You can see that our operations manager, Mary Poole, there on the left, our city engineer, Leslie Bloomquist, in the center, and our general services director, Regina Cave, in the picture. So they accepted the award on behalf of the city, and clearly we're very involved with the project. And then, just quickly, we have President's Day. We talked about some presidents' birthdays tonight. And so City Hall will be closed on Monday, February 17th, in observance of President's Day. And that concludes my updates.
Next item, please.
Council requested items, if there are any.
Anybody? I just forgot an announcement from earlier. For those residents who still want to hear Ethan Conrad's proposal, he's come to all the neighborhood associations, and he still has 3 to go. So if you missed it and you still want to attend, Area 11 is having theirs on the 19th. This is all in February. So on the 19th at 7 p.m., the address is on the website. If you go to the city website under neighborhood engagement, but it's still on the 19th is Area 11. On the 24th is Area 10, and on the 25th is Area 2/6. So there's still 3 opportunities to hear these. I know that 7 p.m. on the 11th, 6:30 on the 24th, and 7 p.m. on the 25th for those three more presentations. And also remind people that even though City Hall is closed on the 17th, we do still do Monday with the mayors. Either me or one of my colleagues will be there between 9 and noon at City Hall.
Oh, City Hall's gonna be open?
No, except for the holiday.
Oh.
Did you not hear that? Okay. So that's all I had.
Final item is adjournment.
I get to do this.
Thank you.